Hey everybody, welcome to another fantastic episode of the Game Thrifter. I know it's been a little while and I apologize for that. I loved backwards compatibility on the Xbox Series X, and I thought it was about time that I did another backwards compatible list that you guys might enjoy playing. Now, these are all Xbox 360 games, and I tried to pick games that were maybe not as well known or games that were possibly even, dare I say, hidden gems. So we'll see how that goes over, but this is a really good list in my opinion, and I'm sure that I'm going to get some people that know these games, obviously, but it's still going to be a fun list and a list that I feel is very well thought out, and I had a blast putting it together. And playing some of these games again for the first time in a long time is definitely noticeable in the gameplay footage, so bear with me on that. Again, I'd like to say if you guys enjoy my content, please like the video, share it out, subscribe if you haven't already done so. Those are ways to help the channel. That's the easiest way to help, is just a simple like. It helps it to be seen, algorithms and all that. Without further ado, let's get started on this backwards compatibility list. Now, first up is Tomb Raider Anniversary. Now, obviously, I've kind of well stated that I really like the reboot franchise of Tomb Raider. I know that's sacrilege to some people, but I also like the Tomb Raider Anniversary game as well, which was also done by Crystal Dynamics, although this was released in 2007. Obviously, this is a game that is a lot of fun to kind of play, and the fact that it's backwards compatible. This actually takes place before Tomb Raider Legend, and it actually has Lara Croft. She has a whole new quest, and honestly, this is something that I feel is a kind of return to roots in terms of what Tomb Raider was all about. Because if you guys ever played Tomb Raider originally, like I did, like I remember playing Tomb Raider on the PlayStation 1 and just being blown away by it. This is more of a return to that in terms of what it has to offer. So, you know, I think that this is fun. I think this is a fantastic game to kind of jump into and play. And if you do like the Tomb Raider series, if you are like me and maybe grew up in the 90s and stuff and played those original Tomb Raider games, this game looks really good still. I mean, obviously it doesn't look like a new game would today, but it still looks much better than, say, a blocky PS1 game. And it still has quite a good story and a lot of fun gameplay elements, a lot that are kind of classic to the franchise. And that's just something that I feel like a lot of people like and enjoy about this, you know what I mean? And that's all there, all the cool stuff, all the cool tomb raiding, all the, you know, the traps and all that kind of stuff that's missing in the reboot. All that stuff is there. And so backwards compatibility is such an awesome thing to be able to go back and enjoy these games even today. Next up is a cool franchise and a cool game called Earth Defense Force 2017. Now, this is a game that I really only kind of just got into, but it's a lot of fun. And the reason I got into it was somebody recommended it to me. I was playing Helldivers 2, and somebody was like, hey, it's sort of like that in kind of a way, which it kind of is. It's obviously a budget title, but it's a third-person shooter, and it's really a fun kind of game to play. You're kind of this global defense force, and, you know, Earth is being invaded and things like that. It really is just kind of a unique game to kind of play. You can play as this soldier, part of this unit that's kind of consisting of and kind of repelling these massive alien and insect attacks. There's a bunch of different weapons to choose from, which I think is really cool. You know, get a variety of weapons like lasers, grenade, rocket launcher. I had a lot of fun with the rocket launcher, to be honest with you. And there's a lot of levels and things. There's some destructible environments. You know, there's a lot of different kind of cool things to kind of play with and kind of play at with this. So yeah, you know, again, it's not a game to take super seriously, but it is a game that is a lot of fun. And what's cool about it and all of these games is that you can buy them. If you have an Xbox Series X, and like I'm more of a person that likes to buy physical stuff, but if you just want to play these games and you're like, oh, those games look cool, well, you know, you can just buy them on the Xbox Series X store, like digitally as well, and a lot of times they're really cheap if you do that. But this is a lot of fun to kind of play through and, you know, just have fun with it. It's not a serious game by any means, but it is seriously fun. Next up is Fallout New Vegas. Now, interestingly enough, this was made by Obsidian and not by Bethesda, so that's a kind of an interesting thing. But this game runs great and looks great on the Xbox Series X. Yes, once again, it's not looking like a brand new game from 2024, but it still looks good, and I believe it has some free enhancements if you play it on the Xbox Series X. So, again, I haven't always been the biggest Fallout fan, but I think that Fallout New Vegas differs quite a bit from some of the other Fallout games, and therefore is maybe a good place to start if you're a bit of a newcomer and things like that, because I felt it to be a little bit more of an interesting story and kind of a little bit more interesting take on the entire franchise. Now, you might feel completely differently, and that's perfectly fine. One thing about these types of videos that I do is I understand that everybody has sort of a different opinion, and that's perfectly okay. Like, if I'm not the biggest Fallout fan and you are, hey, you don't gotta hate on me for it. You know what I'm saying? I like all kinds of different games. I think Fallout games are very good games. There aren't just games that I kind of clamor towards all the time. You know what I mean? But this one is very, very good, and I feel like thanks to like the free enhancements and backwards compatibility, it sort of has a place still. And you can find this physically very cheap, for probably about $5, and they sell it on the store digitally for usually about $5 or $10. So you could get it no matter which way you think about it. And a lot of people ask for a sequel to this game. So I think honestly, it's probably one of the most revered Fallout games. But if you haven't played it, give it a try. Why not? Next up is the old favorite Street Fighter 4. Now, this is a game that's still a lot of fun to play. These Street Fighter games, I don't think they ever really lose the funness, if that's even a word. But to be honest with you, like, I can still go back and remember playing these games on the Street Fighter 2 anyway, back in the day on like the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and they were just a lot of fun to play, and they're still fun to play right now. Like this one, Street Fighter 4, it's different. It's got a lot of different things to it. I think the art style is a little bit different, but it's still a very, very good game, and a game that I think definitely has improved over time, and it takes full advantage of the backwards compatibility program. So, I wanted to show kind of a lot of different types of genres and things like that. So, so you go from Fallout New Vegas to Street Fighter, and, I feel like that's what's really cool about the backwards compatibility program is there's usually something there for everyone. And you really can't understate that. I mean, I feel like clearly having a fighter on here, this is good for, if you want to play with, a friend, if you want to do like some split screen, or if you just want to play yourself and play through like a campaign. Granted, I'm not the best at this game, which is pretty obvious, but of course I'm also kind of trying to make this fight last long enough so that I don't have to string together multiple fights while showing you the footage. So realistically, you can see it does have a cool art style that holds up today, and the game handles well, plays well, and is just a lot of fun to play. So definitely highly recommend this for you backwards compatibility aficionados. Next up is Resident Evil Code Veronica. Yeah, I struggled with the tank controls. It has been a minute since I've played any of the original Resident Evils with those tank controls, and it takes a little while to get used to for sure. But I also feel like this is a good one to kind of go back and play on the Xbox Series X, and I was kind of enjoying my time with it, even though it can be frustrating at times due to the controls. I actually hope that one day they remake this game with the more standard controls that we have now, that we kind of come to get used to. But it's still a fun game, and still, there can be a lot to be said about these old school Resident Evil games that are just kind of a lot of fun to get into and just enjoy. Obviously, you can buy this one. I think they have it on sale digitally most of the time for like $5 or less even. So if you remember playing this, I think the first time I played this game maybe was on the Dreamcast. I think I'm remembering that right. But it's still just one of those great early Resident Evil games that just had everybody kind of talking at the time, like a water cooler type game. And from that aspect, I don't think the gameplay holds up tremendously well, but the story is still fun, and it's still an engaging game overall. In keeping with a bit of the horror theme, we're going to do Fear 3. Now, the Fear series is very interesting because, a lot of people really love this series, and it's a series that I honestly hadn't got into before. So many people mentioned this, and I saw this game like on sale for a very cheap price recently, and so I picked up this version of the game, and I have to say, It looks pretty good still. It's definitely got that psychological horror element to it, and it's just an interesting type of game. So if you're not really in the know about what these types of games are, this first-person shooter, psychological horror. This one came out in 2011. It's the third game in the series. So anyway, it's very interesting that they kind of made this backwards compatible back with the Xbox Series X and S. It really kind of takes place at the end of the conclusion of Fear 2, which I hadn't played yet. So I kind of played out of order a little bit, but it's still kind of a very interesting game to play, and one of those kind of psychological games. It's really hard to kind of compare what these games are like, but to me anyway, there's a little bit of mixed elements of maybe some of the Silent Hill games, maybe some of the Condemned games, and kind of mashing them together or whatever. So I really do feel like this is a fun game though, and one that deserves like kind of a second life on the Xbox Series X and S. If you haven't tried it yet, like I said, it's cheap. Pick it up, give it a try, and let me know what you think. Okay, so last but not least, and I hope I say this name right, Asura's Wrath. Now, this is a game that is actually quite new to me. It came kind of recommended. It's a Capcom game. I was like, hey, why not? So basically, you're playing this demigod, and what's cool about it is, obviously you're all out on the revenge aspect and things like that. And I felt like the super unique part to this game, and what makes it worthwhile and worth trying, is that they kind of present it in an episodic series, sort of like anime and things like that. So it's got opening and closing credits, and the gameplay itself has sort of a cinematic atmosphere where you can switch between, different varies of combat between first and interactive sequences. So there's a lot of like QTEs and things like that. It does have this like super ambitious and unique style. The game has, sometimes, like I said, anime, maybe like interactive anime. And again, this is just something that I felt was unique and different. And that's why I added it to the list. And I haven't really met many other people that have talked about this game before. I had one friend who's super into like anime and stuff like that, and they recommended it, and I was like, hey, you know what, it's on sale, I'm gonna try it, why not? It's backwards compatible. You can just buy it off the Series X or S store and enjoy it. But if you're looking for like a unique game that kind of tingles all the senses, I think this one really does a good job at that, and it's just a lot of fun to play. I'm not super adept on what's going on, everything that's going on and things like that, but it's just a fun game to play and something that you have to kind of try it and see for yourself. Now, there's tons of Xbox 360 games that are backwards compatible for the Xbox Series X and S, and even Xbox One. But it's up to you to decide which ones you want to play. I love doing these lists because sometimes I really surprise people, and in the comments they're like, I never heard of that game, but it looks awesome, I'm going to go get it. And that really makes my day. Like I said, some games get free enhancements and look better than others. But overall, it's just really kind of a fun thing to kind of experiment with and realize that maybe if you're not even having the best time with newer games, there's always some great ones from back in the day to kind of brighten up your day and enjoy. So let me know some of the Xbox 360 backwards compatible titles that you'd like to see in a video, or maybe video ideas in general. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.